Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the coolest guitars in the history of guitars, one of the really iconic reverse headstock guitars. This is the 1994 made in Japan Jackson Dinky Reverse, or Dinky Rev as it says there on the headstock. As far as specs go, for those of you who are really into that, this is a basswood body, so it's super light. It's got a rosewood fretboard and then a maple neck. And we'll look at the neck profile a little bit later, but this is kind of a wizard style neck. Really big frets, thin profile if you're into that sort of thing. Not completely my thing, but I make do. What this thing lacks in neck comfort, it more than makes up in comfort everywhere else. This guitar weighs about 9 or 10 pounds, super light. Yeah, if you want to play and have like your leisure guitar going on, this is your new leisure guitar. How do I know this is from 1994? If we look at the neck plate, it's got a first number is 4. So all through the 90s on the Jackson Professional series, that first number there tells you what year out of the 90s it was made. As far as the Jackson Professional series goes, this is one of 2 Jackson Professional series guitars that I own. The other being a Jackson 1997 Randy Rhodes. Throughout the 90s, there were really 3 types of guitars that Jackson made. They had the USA stuff, which is always top notch. They had the Pro Series in the early 90s, which was a kind of custom shop in Japan that made really high-end guitars, and they actually kind of ended up cannibalizing the US guitars a little bit, so I think they got shut down. They didn't make it all the way through the 90s. But then you also had the Professional series. These are more mass-produced than the Pro series, and they're also not as nice. The materials aren't as nice. When they were sold in the 90s, they came in at about the $700 to $800 price point. I think this is about a $700 guitar. But you can find these super cheap on eBay. I'm talking like $200, $300. This is actually one of the rarer ones. These are really rare if you can find it with the maple fretboard, but I actually prefer a rosewood fretboard feel and looks wise. So these aren't super rare. They're just kind of normal rare. You'll see one on eBay once every 6 months to a year maybe. They tend to go for about $500. I bought this for $425. So about market price. I didn't get a super good deal on it, but I mean, if you look at paying $400 for something like this versus, what you can get from Fender or Gibson for $400, even used, I mean, there's no comparison. This is just such high quality. The fretboard is absolutely flawless. The locking, the imitation Floyd Rose style bridge, so it's a double locking setup. And then there's no need to mod these. I mean, any Fender guitar that I've ever played for, a $400, $500 price point comes with like some throwaway pickups that they almost expect you to throw out and put some nice stuff in. I think actually the catchphrase that Fender was going with, at least about a year ago, was like made to be modded or something, which is not very encouraging when you're buying their stuff, I guess. But these are not made to be modded. These are made to be played and sound very good right out of the box with the stock stuff. Of course, these went out of production 20 years ago, but when they were being made, they put some good shit into them. So as you can probably tell, just eyeballing the stock pickups here. This is all original, of course, but these pickups have seen better days. They're 22 years old, and not just visually, but when you play these, as we're going to look at later in the demo, they're not as hot or as high output as I have a feeling they were back in 1994 when this guitar came off the assembly line. For me, that's not really a problem, but if you buy this guitar to play metal, which a lot of people will, I'd say the majority of people will, you might want to replace these with some EMGs or Seymour Duncans or DiMarzios or whatever you like. But definitely keep these, even though they don't scream like a lot of pickups out there. They're very high end, very top quality, very creamy, smooth, and just have a lot of personality and richness to them. I could describe them all day, but I'm actually going to play this a little bit later in the video, and I guess form your own opinion about the pickups on this guitar. The only real complaints about this super funky looking guitar, maybe the funkiest looking guitar that Jackson has ever made. The only complaints I have are that the pots are really, really scratchy and I'm too lazy to clean them. And then the knobs are really, really twiddly. Like if you're playing and you tip the volume knob just a little bit, your volume is going to start to get tapped down the more and more you play. So I just took these. As far as the bridge on this guitar goes, this is the imitation Floyd Rose, of course. What's it say? Licensed under Floyd Rose patents to Jackson. So this is made by Jackson, which is better than some weird Chinese third-party stuff. So this is a pretty nice imitation Floyd Rose, but it's definitely not as good as the original. If you're just playing regularly, it's going to stay in tune flawlessly. That's really the real advantage of this. If you're doing a lot of downward dive bombs, maybe after 7 or 8 of them, you're going to need to retune. You do that by twiddling these guys, of course. But upward bends with this, I haven't had very good experience with. The strings will actually pop out of the, I think they're called saddles. They'll pop out sometimes. So not good for upward dive bombs. Whereas with an original Floyd Rose, you can bend it up all day and it's not going to do anything. I'd mentioned earlier that this is like a wizard style neck, really, really thin, and then big chunky frets. Something else to note about it is that the fretboard itself has very, very little contour. So this is almost like you're playing a dinner plate or something as you're playing. Here's a good look at the action for you. I had this professionally set up, so this is about as low as the strings will go, which I feel like is as low as most people want them. Yeah, so I probably don't need to tell you this, but this is one of the coolest looking guitars ever made, and now we're going to listen to how it sounds. I am playing through a Mesa Boogie Express 550, mic'd with a thin body condenser mic. The amp has ruby tubes in it. I hope you had as much fun as I did going through this super funky guitar from 1994, really one of a kind. If you have any questions about it or anything I didn't cover, please leave it in the comments section, and I'll see you soon.